One of the manifestations of the all-prevalent divine clarity that permeates all dimensions is light. As we know, light has a dual nature. It appears either as waves or as tiny photon particles. Every living organism has photon radiation. Photons are information carriers at the physical level. Nucleotides forming the DNA are controlled by information in order to build up the DNA. Data carrier nucleotides are simply inoperable particles without the information that controls their programming. The mind processes sensations and data received by our five senses in the form of thoughts. However, the heart has feelings, intuitions, and even premonitions. All the above are clear signs of the heart being singular, having a special connection to the all-encompassing consciousness. Clarity, creator information, and heart fields are manifestations, representations of the higher dimensions of completeness. Light, data, and mind are just purely three-dimensional devices for our orientation. Taking all these into account, we have created such a soul scanner that is capable of showing our multi-dimensional reality detected by our heart fields. To understand our heart's messages at a deeper level, we needed a new decoder. Information containing the Creator's message became the foundation for the common language. Each elementary particle, whether it is a mineral, crystal, bacterium, virus, fungus, plant, animal, or a thought, emotion, or spirit, has sacred information that is exclusive only to it and through which it was brought to existence by the Creator. The collected patterns were introduced to the matrix drops computer, and that is how we managed to connect with our own soul and consciousness through the heart field. Samples of materials and living organisms, as well as the patterns of spiritual properties, were stored in crystals, liquids, and kept for a long time. The thousands of quintessences and their octaves were named matrix drops. The matrix drops computer detects geopathic stress radiation zones, injuries to the autonomy caused by vaccinations, accumulation of heavy metals, allergies, amino acid information disturbances, entities in our environment, spells, electrosmog and depolarizations, homeopathies. Furthermore, it also selects and reveals to us which of our personal traits make it difficult or help fulfill our current life task and fate. With its Tesla coil, the device can perform space impregnation. The matrix drops computer is a transcendent device allowing us to have an insight into our pleasures and pains carried by memories, and to also recognize their psychosomatic manifestations. The matrix drops stop such forces that are undesirable to us, yet we live with them helplessly. They might be bad traits we adopted from environmental patterns. They might be devastating viruses, fungi, bacteria, or other parasites. The computer introduces potential solutions to memorial imprints that were recorded during fetal development. Who would not want to know the astral and mental messages of their previous lives? The fact-finding computer reveals not only the past, but also probable outcomes of the future. Connecting to the heart field through morphogenetic fields and telepathically, we can connect to other people, animals, and plants. Information patterns are universal, so we are able to look through our consciousness, seeking for the missing, disseminated, mistuned, or tangled information. Results of the computer analysis are also available in printed form. In addition to the original universal information, occasionally shadow information arriving from external realms do manifest within one's self. Consequentially, we are also struggling with our own shadow and the tempting dark forces. Matrix drops are perfect information patterns. They support renewal capabilities residing inside of us while restraining weakening forces. This is how it helps the immune system to regain its original state. The information patterns carried by the matrix drops in coherent, well-ordered circumstances are capable of inducing living organisms to reinstate their perfect, original state. With the use of the matrix drops protocol, we can create a coherent environment. Every living organism has that special alchemical self-healing ability of cold fusion, which they can use at body temperature to synthesize missing substances from other elements needed for coherence. That is, for complete external and internal equilibrium. The matrix drops are capable of directing these processes. Epigenetics has proven that in our genes only 1% of our destiny is determined. The remaining, most significant part depends on us, on our environment, nutrition, thinking, emotions, relationships, spirituality, and our spirit. The carrier of matrix drops is water, which is one of the most important components of living organisms. Water and information carried by it create living organisms from lifeless materials. Since all living organisms are made up of minerals and water, they can also be considered as instances of a liquid crystal model. Water molecules form a quasi-crystal when 5 H2O molecules attach through secondary bonds. Thanks to these, water becomes programmable. Water always seeks to retain information arriving from higher dimensions. Therefore, we used a method which allowed us to rise above the effects of physical impacts from the environment. We used potential opportunities provided by teleportation. Electronic teleportation experiments have been scientifically proven, but the efficiencies of signal transfer there are very modest. The Matrix Drops research group has developed a completely new method. Using crystals in the teleportation process, the team has maximized the transfer efficiency of information patterns. Matrix Drops is capable of storing information for decades. In the history of mankind, there's a possibility for a new kind of freedom. It is spiritual freedom and freedom of the soul.